Financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City, to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey everyone, welcome to Radio Free New York. Thank you everyone for listening today. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by, as always on Friday, our co-host Sean Phelan, Agent of Chaos. Howdy, Sean.
Scheming mountebank, yes.
Scheming mountebank, you're a scheming mountebank.
Don't flatter me. Don't flatter me. I might run for office.
Oh boy, what a world that would be. Imagine Sean as a politician. All right. So speaking of running for office, though, we do have a guest for today. I have a guest, Dr. Stephen Becker, who is running for New York State Assembly. Steve, you with us?
I am with you. First of all, let me thank you, Kevin, for inviting me be on the show with you today. And a big hi to Sean, and a big thank you to WYSL for giving Liberty a voice.
Absolutely. We love
All right, you already got my
WYSL.
vote.
Yeah. And WYSL, the voice of liberty. That's what they are. And, of course, shout out to our affiliates as well who are carrying Radio Free New York, WACK in Newark, and WENY, The Patriot, down in the southern tier. So, Steve, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself? What are you running for, and why are you running for office?
I'm a optometrist. I've always worked here on the north side of the Rochester. I run a Coit and 14609 and northern Rochester. I have a family, a good wife, and two daughters I'm extremely proud of. I'm running for the Assembly seat, the 136th, which is currently empty. And as a matter of fact, I just found out it's going to be empty all year. I was under the impression that they were going to have a special election in June, which I was not in the special election. We didn't have time to get signatures for that. But I'm running in November for the 136th Assembly seat. But I was just looking at the Board of Elections website last night, and that special election was canceled when they moved the election day from back to June. And I hadn't realized that until last night, so that the seat's going to be empty all year long.
Yeah, no, it's going to be empty the whole time. So, I mean, the good news is that you're not running against an incumbent in this case. I believe the person who was in the seat, I think was it Jamie Romeo before? She's, was it her?
Yes, it was Romeo.
I think it was her.
Yep,
and
now
she,
the county clerk.
Yep, exactly. So she got appointed the county clerk. So there's supposed to be a special election that ended up getting canceled because it was supposed to happen in April, and then that didn't end up happening. So now it's a wide open seat. There's a Democratic primary for that spot, and then there's no Republican in this race. Steve?
There's no Republican. One of the Democrats has also got apparently the independent line, and one of the Democrats, I think there's actually 3 Democrats in the primary, and a second one has the working family line. So
there's a possibility all 3 stay in.
So, yeah, presumably it'll be a 3-way race, yeah.
Wow. Well, that could be fun, and would certainly present an interesting situation for you. The Democrats, got that 3 people running in that position, and then there's no Republican running, and you, Steve, are running as a Libertarian.
I am running as a Libertarian.
Yep, so you're running as Libertarian Party, and no other party lines, just running as a Libertarian this year?
Right, just purely as a Libertarian.
Fantastic. So, why don't you tell the listeners, why you're running as a Libertarian then? Have you been with the Libertarian Party for a little bit? What's your history there?
I've been active in Libertarian circles for many years, many years. I've locally we've had a county committee that I've been active with. I've been on the state committee on and off several times, and I've been to at least half a dozen national conventions. in the last 3 or 4, I've taken my daughters with me, and they have been lucky enough to be delegates as well. So they were thrilled to help nominate Gary Johnson. I guess that was almost 4 years ago.
Yeah, back in 2016. Excited with. Now, I remember that down in Orlando with.
Yep.
That was a fun convention because that was basically a 3-way race at that point between. Well, I guess there's 4 people. There's Gary Johnson, Austin Peterson, and John McAfee. And Gary Johnson came out on top, and that is what it is.
Yeah, my oldest daughter got on like CNN as he was walking off. Had just got nominated. She was like one of the first people to rush up to him, and then the cameras were still on him as he was walking away.
That's amazing. Getting on there, very cool. And would you mind kind of describing roughly where the district is? I don't know if we ever did that. Where's the 136?
It's, I believe, pretty much all of Arundecoit.
Yeah.
There's a sliver of the city that runs up along the river, Shalat area, the northern 14609 and part of Rochester, and then down along like 590, it runs and gets into Brighton. Some of those apartments down in Brighton, like Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road, I believe, might be the southern boundary.
Excellent.
Sounds like some interesting gerrymandering.
Yes, it does.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's if you ever look at a map of like what the assembly districts look like, particularly in our county, it's wild. It's just again, it chunks of the city, Arundecoit, Brighton. I live near the district. Weirdly enough, I'm in the 138th, but I'm like all my neighbors around me are in 136. So it's kind of a weird thing. Look at some of these districts. Like sometimes they cut through like single blocks through the city too. It's nuts. I mean, that's one of those. I mean, do you think it's gerrymandered, Steve? And if you were elected, is there anything you'd do about that?
Well, there's no question it's gerrymandered. And while you'd like to fix that, it's something they've been doing for only a couple hundred years at least. So that would probably be one of the hardest things to fix, honestly, because they draw those lines to help themselves, the majority. In the past, there used to be the Assembly was Democrat and the Republicans were held the Senate, and so they would each draw the lines to help them, their own party. The Republicans lost the Senate here in the last election, so we're going to have new lines after the new census, and but I don't see any hope that gerrymandering is going to go away.
Yeah, probably not. It just ain't gonna happen. And I'll also mention too again, since we are having Steve on, if the whatever Democrat ends up winning, they want to come on Radio Free New York, guys. Folks, you're able to come on. Yeah, give our station a call. I'll have you on. We're gonna talk policy. That's what it is. We want to give everyone a fair shake here. We're happy to talk with Steve today, but if Democrats want to come on and talk with us, oh boy, we'll do it.
Bring it.
Bring it. Sean's ready. All right. So we got a couple more minutes left. If there's one thing you could hope to accomplish in this election, Steve, what would you want to do? It's the number one issue.
I think my number one issue is to tell people that the only way we're going to stop the corruption in Albany is one voter at a time, and hopefully changing this seat. Gold will be the first step there, but the corruption is going to go on until people won't put up with it anymore.
Absolutely. I mean, the corruption in Albany is absolutely ridiculous, absolutely unacceptable. And my goodness, like with the coronavirus outbreak, it ain't getting any better. No, in fact, it's probably getting worse. We have Governor Cuomo, who is now sees full control over the budget, sees full control over the lawmaking process, extending emergencies, and the Democrats in power are happy to keep giving it to them. So we need to do something about that. So I think we're going to go to a break in a second, but when we come back, we'll make sure that we continue to we'll talk with Steve Becker, the Libertarian candidate for Assembly in the 136. Thank you for listening to Radio Free New York. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
I'm Las from Action Towing and Service. We are the biggest towing company in New York State, but we do a lot more than just towing. We will tow just about anything, but we will also repair just about anything as well. We offer a courtesy shuttle and pickup. We offer a drop box service. We have all these amenities that we've put in place to make sure that every one of our customers can receive the best service possible. Please give us an opportunity to win your business. Come down and visit us at 275 Marketplace Drive, right off of Jefferson Road.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today, joined as always on Fridays by Sean Phelan, Agent of Chaos. Thank you everyone for listening today here on WYSL 1040 AM 92.1 and 95.5 FM. And of course, our partners WACK out in Newark and WENY, the Patriot down in the Southern Tier, and our friends on YouTube, our friends on Facebook, our friends on Twitter. Thank you all for listening, and thank you all for commenting. We have a public service announcement from Drew who says, it's Donuts Day? I guess it's not International Donuts Day or something. So a lot of places are giving away free donuts. Guys, take advantage. Get some donuts. It's Donuts Day. Yeah.
Donuts. Hey, wait a minute. Wasn't it like National Donut Day like a month ago? What is this, like some like evil plot to make us all diabetic?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I'm okay with that. If it's an excuse to give away more free donuts, I'm happy to do it. All right, but we're not here today to talk about donuts, as much as we could probably spend the whole hour on it. We're here to talk with New York State Assembly candidate Steve Becker, who's on the line. And Steve, you mentioned that like the number one issue to you is corruption. So, you know, besides voting, you know, what are some ways that we can address corruption in New York State?
Well, I think we have to try to shine a light on it. The public authorities never get looked at. Sometimes you talk about the public debt that the state itself owns, but nobody even looks at the public debt that the authorities run up that technically we're on the hook for, but because it's the authorities that borrowed it and not the state, they never count that in the official state, debt.
Yeah. So we were talking about like transportation authority taking on a bunch of like capital debt to like improve the throughway. Or are we talking about like
dormitory authority, the port authority? Yeah. I mean, there's authorities that we've never heard of that are out there borrowing billions of dollars and pay for friends of Andrew for whatever project they've put forward.
Yes, and that's Andrew Cuomo, not Andrew Hollister, the host of Radio Free New York. I don't know that Andrew Hollister is getting that sweet state money.
No, he's working for all his money.
That's right. But I mean, if you've never interacted with this system, what Steve's talking about, like the dormitory authority, they'll do things like they kind of, it's really pork barrel spending. Like they have like a big pool of money, and members of the assembly kind of just like give it out to pet projects that they like. And sometimes it's for things that are really nice. It's for things that are playgrounds and stuff. They'll kind of stretch around, what it means. Sometimes for like housing type of things, but it's a lot of pork, and they will stretch the heck out of the meaning of what the dormitories authority is supposed to be, and give away tens of thousands to millions of dollars to their pet projects, to people who are politically well connected. And again, sometimes it's a good cause, but you got to wonder, like, is all that going to a good cause? No, absolutely not. There's
$1 million bathrooms.
Yeah, there's not a ton of oversight.
Multi-million dollar rest stops on the thruway, and then they just complete them, and now they're going to tear them down and redo them again.
Yeah, although some of that is being sponsored, from what I'm told. Some of that's being sponsored, like by which.
When I see the word painted out on the thruway, right there, and it says in huge letters, Yahoo or Apple, then it ain't being sponsored.
Unless it says Yahoo or Apple in there.
You know what I mean? It's like the big names, Amazon, something. Somebody who took the highway and said, you know what, I'm going to sponsor this highway, and I'm going to put my name on it, and I'm going to pay for this, and I'm going to pay for that.
The Amazon highway, the Elon Musk highway. Actually, that does bring up like an actual policy solution that Larry Sharp talked about a lot.
Yep.
Steve, would you endorse like a policy of like corporations being able to sponsor chunks of highway or bridges or things like that to help offset the cost to taxpayers?
Absolutely. There's a reason the one memorial says Blue Cross on the front of it, but most municipalities, just don't think about the alternative sources of funding.
Right. There's all these opportunities out there. Sean, I cut you off. Go ahead.
That's right. I have to admit, though, that like the Pornhub highway would definitely be very weird.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, there might be some restrictions. I think they're more into plowing, and that's not a double entendre. That is they actually plowed roads in Boston. Pornhub did. They sponsored it. They plowed roads during snowstorms.
They also tried to buy the rights to a stadium somewhere, and they were going to name the stadium, and they were like, no.
No. So maybe there's some discretion for brand, but overall, Steve, you agree? Like municipalities, including the state of New York, should look into creative ways of being able to fund, what we might consider core infrastructure.
Absolutely. On the other hand, they've misused ways. As I understand it, at least some states have been selling off their driver motor vehicle information that they collect so you can get a license, and turning around and selling that information.
Ooh,
that's wrong.
Yikes! Yeah, I don't know if that's what we want to do. I mean, I don't think I opted into that. I don't want you really selling my info, but maybe we did though. I don't read the paperwork as well as I should sometimes. I'll admit. I think everyone does. You ever click on one of those user agreements and it's like 20 minutes worth of reading?
Yeah, your eyes glaze over.
Yeah. It's funny. I once had somebody steal my ID, and they gave it back 20 minutes later.
All right, so Steve, what besides corruption, what are some of your other top issues? What do you think really needs to change in New York State? And if you were elected, what are some issues that you'd want to focus on?
Well, I'm going to try to focus on health issues. this is a little random, but I thought it was interesting. Apparently, the social distancing thing is over because I just saw Joe Morelli and the trying to think of the county manager's name. I'm blanking out of this.
Bello?
Yes, Adam Bello, standing in the crowd, shoulder to shoulder with 2,000 people on Saturday. So apparently, social distancing is a thing of the past.
Was Joe there? I didn't see Joe there.
Yeah, he was standing right next to Adam.
All right, well, I'll see if he's there again Saturday. I'll go chat with him. Tell him I need to debate. But yeah, no, I mean, it is a fair point. You know, you're looking at this situation and you're seeing, you know, thousands of people out. You know, they're all wearing masks and whatever, but like thousands of people out, like, you know, are they violating social distancing norms and you know, or rules, actual, you know, laws? We're not able to go to a Bills game. We're not able to even go into a restaurant, and you got these big rallies. Is that a sign that the quarantine is over? Is it a sign that you know, maybe we could kind of open stuff up a bit more? And Steve, what would you do about that?
Well, I think the whole quarantine was way overdone. I mean, you know, keeping 40 million people losing their jobs is just insane. But you know, apparently the governor just said he's going to pay for, well, all those people that went out and in the streets over the weekend are going to get a free test for the virus. Well, of course, free means you and I are going to pay for it.
Ain't no such thing as free lunch.
Got that right.
I do have a couple other semi-random but health-related items that I think only I saw because of the position where I'm in. Early on, the Department of Health sent out an email saying they would desperately need more qualified health professionals to supplement our hospital capacity on a temporary basis. Of course, most of the hospitals were empty for the whole thing. Not completely empty, obviously, but running way below capacity. Further down, it says, we welcome those whose licenses have expired, whether recently or long ago, because experience and skills are what matter right now. New York State will recertify those individuals immediately. So the rules and regulations that licensing regulations that hold people back so often, when it's convenient for them, they immediately disappear.
Right.
Oh yeah, I've experienced this as a teacher. They need a teacher so badly down in North Carolina that they were just handing out temporary license.
Yeah. So Steve, actually, Governor Cuomo had kind of suspended the law that if you were practicing medicine out of state and you wanted to come into New York State to be able to assist with the coronavirus outbreak, that you'd be able to immediately start serving patients. Is that something that should be made permanent?
Yeah. If you're qualified, why is the state standing in the way? They also stood in the way with the telemedicine. Whether it's a waiting list issue or maybe a money issue that you can afford a specialist here, if you can find one on telemedicine that maybe in Oklahoma or whatever. Why should you be prevented from consulting that doctor?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, and I think that was another thing that the governor kind of waved away. Again, well, why not? Like, if I'm able to connect with a doctor that I can afford out in Oklahoma or Nebraska or Washington State or wherever it is, and they're able to assist me with telemedicine, that seems like, I mean, I'm sure there's some things you need to go in person for, right? But like, telemedicine can supplement a lot of what we do.
And people should have the choice.
Absolutely. All right. So thank you, Dr. Steve Becker. We're going to be back with more Radio Free New York in just a few minutes. Thank you, everyone, for listening today. Talk to you soon.
Now, more than twice the power. More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for today. Very warm and muggy. We'll see a mixture of sun and clouds, temps in the mid-80s. Just a slight shower threat in the afternoon. Might be a shower storm tonight. We'll stay in the 60s. A little breezy and cooler on Saturday. Sun and clouds, maybe a shower in the low 70s. Sunshine, but 60s. That's it for a high on Sunday. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
FM Talk.
Many tanning salons say that indoor tanning is a health benefit because it prepares your skin for additional exposure. Bronzing your skin gives little protection against skin cancer. According to the American Academy of Dermatology, more than 1 million new cases of skin cancer will be diagnosed in the United States this year. Skin cancer is treatable. However, prevention is still the safest and easiest way to avoid this type of cancer. Avoid the use of tanning beds and always use a sunscreen with an SPF of 30 or more when going outside. For more information, contact the Livingston County Department of Health at 243-7299.
Our community is strong. Even when we can't be together, we stand together as families, neighbors, and local businesses helping each other. As an essential business and community partner, Tompkins is here for you with online and mobile banking, programs to help our lending customers, and peace of mind, knowing that our focus is you. We're here to help you stay strong, get through this, and rebuild. For our customers and for our community, Tompkins Bank of Castile is here.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
I'm Las from Action Towing and Service. We are the biggest towing company in New York State, but we do a lot more than just towing. We will tow just about anything, but we will also repair just about anything as well. We offer a courtesy shuttle and pickup. We offer a drop box service. We have all these amenities that we've put in place to make sure that every one of our customers can receive the best service possible. Please give us an opportunity to win your business. Come down and visit us at 275 Marketplace Drive, right off of Jefferson Road.
If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we're better together, and together, we're moving business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today.
Are you experiencing back and neck pain after weeks of quarantine spending hours in front of a computer or phone? Dr. Andrew Lazaro at Solace Chiropractic has provided over 80,000 treatments and offers safe and effective care to help your body get back to functioning as it should. Insurance is accepted and he is currently taking new patients. So call Solace Chiropractic 598-3031, located at 160 Packets Landing, Fairport, or visit him at solacechiropractic.com, 598-3031.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Sean Phelan, Agent of Chaos, and joined by Libertarian candidate for New York State Assembly in the 136th District, Steve Becker. Steve, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
All right, and Steve, so now I want to hit some hot button issues, right? Like I feel like there are two issues that have dominated the news lately. So we'll ask you about coronavirus, and we'll ask you about kind of police reform stuff and whether or not we need to do any of that, and if so, what you do. So the COVID-19 response. What have you thought of Governor Cuomo's response? And you kind of hinted at this a bit. And if you were elected, is there anything that you would do differently, or at least advocate to do differently from the New York State Assembly?
Well, I mean, his one-size-fit-all policies were just terrible. I mean, clearly the city, they had a real issue, although they never ended up using the beds at the Jacob Center, and they only used like 18% of the beds on the Navy Comfort ship. But there was definitely a real problem in the city. But shutting down the rest of the state was an overreaction, and certainly the putting the COVID contagious patients into the nursing homes is it's beyond words. It's just hard to understand how everybody's just not completely furious about that.
Yeah, that's a terrible thing. I just when I heard about that, I thought okay, what was the person who received that order from their superior thinking or doing that it didn't click in their head this is an abominable idea?
Well, and it was a system that was just authoritarian, because the state medical director issued an order, all the counties had to follow it. Because the county medical director issued an order, everybody in the county had to follow it. There was no room at all for any kind of, feedback or debate or even, stand up and say, this just isn't right.
Lack of checks and balances.
No checks and balances. Thank you.
Right. And now Governor Cuomo's trying to throw the nursing homes themselves under the bus, even though they were just complying with the policy that came down from the state.
They knew they weren't ready. I mean, a nursing home is not an ICU. Is not a medical ward. They have entirely different standards, and it's just tell them that they couldn't question it. They couldn't test. They couldn't. You have 24 hours to do it our way, and we don't care that you don't have any equipment. We don't care that you don't have the PPE. We don't care that your people aren't trained. This is a decision from, the God Emperor in Albany, and this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, because they're so worried about hospital capacity that they're willing to send sick people back into nursing homes again. Now, remember, that's what Governor Cuomo did, and that's where, I forget, it's like a significant percentage of the deaths from New York State came from nursing homes, and probably as a direct result of Governor Cuomo's policy.
There's no question. Thousands of people died because of that decision.
Right. Steve, what do you think of so Governor Cuomo has taken a slightly more regional approach. We have our 4 phases now. Is that an effective approach? Is that, too big, too small of an approach too, in terms of lumping regions together? What do you think of that?
Yes, certainly the regions are too big. I mean, Rochester is so very different than, Bath or Penn Yan. Some of these counties had very little issues with the virus. At the very least, there should be decisions that's made county by county. These decisions should be made locally, unless they're just swamped and they need help from higher up.
Yeah. So, if a county's asking for help, do it. But they should be able to make those decisions themselves. And Governor Cuomo's kind of he's pretended that the county or the regions were making autonomous decisions, but when it came to the phase 2 reopening last week, it's pretty clear that it wasn't. Everyone was hanging on the governor's office to see if they could actually move ahead with phase 2.
I heard an interview with Bob Duffy last Friday, and towards the end he said, somebody asked him about, well, what does the governor say? He goes, well, I haven't spoken to the governor. I mean, I thought the reason we had this czar was so there was, some communication. He's been the czar here in our region for all this time, and he's never once spoken to the governor? Really?
Yeah.
What's his role then?
Yeah, well, what's he doing? And yet he can't act independently of the governor either. So what's the
He
point?
has no authority. He's not elected, and apparently he's not listened to. So what do we got?
He's part of the king's court.
Yeah, it's just
He's a
gotta ask
lord
if
or
it
a noble.
If it pleases the crown, may we go back to work again? No, you may not.
Businesses should have been able to decide for themselves whether they, could operate safely, and what they needed to do. If they had to send half the people home, or serve people outside, or.
Right. So and for regular listeners of the show, we had Bob Confer on a couple weeks ago who talked about a lot of that stuff and how, at least in manufacturing, they were coming up with great plans to keep their employees safe. And they, had a solid plan for how to open up safely. It was probably months ago at this point, but quite a while ago. And if you haven't heard that episode, again, I'd recommend going back to listen to it. We have a podcast, and you can also go back on the Facebook pages and YouTube channels and listen to that. All right, so we got a couple more. Any other ways that you would change the coronavirus response from the state? Anything else? Or have we pretty much covered the ground here?
Well, I just do want to point one small thing out. I heard you guys the other day talking about how the county employees, over half of them, are getting extra pay during this crisis, presumably federal money that they didn't know how else to spend. I got another email, and it's from the Division of Regional Operations Bureau of Health Workforce, whatever the heck that is. I've never heard of it before in my life. But it's to remind people they have one day to put in. Apparently, it was to forgive school $100,000 over 3 years if you were, in a slot that they were, wanted to encourage. So these are healthcare workers that were getting $100,000 over 3 years of forgiveness for their school loans. And it was apparently one of these relief bills that the Congress passed that, you got 40 million people that can't work and can't pay their bills, and you got other people that are getting a $100,000 gift from a government ferry.
Sweet deal for them.
Ferry Cuomo?
Yes.
Well, I think. I don't think I can blame this one on Cuomo, but.
So man, it's amazing. We're still finding out like new stuff that was in this bill. Like I feel like we've covered it a bunch. We found out a bunch of stuff, and like we're still looking at it and we're like, man, there's still more stuff.
What, $3 trillion?
Yeah.
It's an insane amount of money. They had 1,000 pages of gifts for their buddies.
Yeah. And very little time to go over it, too. Just remember, with these bills, when they come out, they get like hours to read them. Hours to read over 1,000 pages of stuff, and very few opportunities to vote on the individual aspects of those bills, too.
Yeah.
They just kind of let it roll like, oh, yeah, the leadership's got it, whatever. We're just going to vote along, In this case, it wasn't party lines. It was only a handful of people who were like, hey, no, we need to discuss what's actually in this. And, people like Congressman Amash and Thomas Massey and just a handful of others.
Yeah, no hearings.
Nope. No, barely anything. You just don't get it at all. It's... And, I can get the case for relief, but we're finding out all this stuff. It's like, man, how many billions of dollars in giveaways do we get? And we have, like, ridiculous things like in Monroe County where they're paying workers extra for this stuff, for the hazard pay, and then you have other counties in New York State that are cutting workers right now. And it's just a system that doesn't make much sense. This is what you get when you try to do central planning. This is what happens. You get a bunch of bad stuff and bad incentives and policies that don't make sense and policies that end up not serving the people in New York well.
Supposedly they were trying to save the hospitals, and Strong just laid off 3,500 employees.
Oof.
How does
that
work?
No, I did see that.
Dr. Becker, I saw a report today that they were stating that the unemployment rate is down to 13.3%. Do you actually believe that 86.7% of people are still employed?
No, I don't. They're massaging the numbers. They always massage those employment numbers, and just like the inflation numbers aren't real either.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk about. We can keep talking about this, and I do want to hit a couple other issues. Thank you, Dr. Steve Becker, for being on the show, and we'll be back with the last segment with him here on Radio Free New York in a few minutes. Thank you for listening.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever temperature, humidity, and altitude test chamber available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
Fiorella, a family-owned farm-to-table Italian restaurant at the Rochester Public Market, is open for curbside contactless takeout Wednesday through Saturday. Lunch 11:30 to 2 and dinner 4 to 8. Fiorella offers wood-fired, old-world-style pizza with naturally leavened dough and house-made fresh pasta. Check out our Facebook and Instagram at Restaurant Fiorella for nightly specials. Thursday is gnocchi night. Call 434-5705. View the takeout menu on the web, restaurantfiorella.com.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Sean Phelan, Agent of Chaos, and Dr. Steve Becker, who is running for State Assembly, New York State Assembly, in the 136th District, and he's running as a Libertarian. Steve, I think we've covered pretty well most of the most important COVID-19 issues, but of course there's another hot topic right now, and I wanted to see if you had any thoughts on that, and that's of course kind of the police issues, the Black Lives Matter protests, all that type of stuff. It's going on right now. Do you have any thoughts on that? Any solutions that you'd propose, or anything else that you think voters should know related to your stance on these issues?
Well, of course, the killing of George Floyd was horrible and despicable and just beyond words, and that goes, that's terrible. As a Libertarian, of course, I support protests, and the people that are protesting have plenty of reason to protest. There's been abuses. They apparently introduced a number of bills last night or plan to introduce 12 bills into the New York State Assembly. The news didn't cover it very well. I haven't had a chance to read them. One thing that I wonder about, one of the issues I think is sovereign immunity, that so often the police departments and the governor's office and state government in general you can't sue them. You're not. There's a. It's just. I guess it's in the state constitution that they have sovereign immunity.
Could you explain that a bit more?
Well, sovereign immunity is the idea that ordinarily if somebody ran into your car, you could sue them for damages. But if it's a state official, if it's a police officer or whatever, and they run into your car, oh well, no, you can't sue the individual. You might be able to get some kind of recompense for the damage to the car, but you can't sue the individual because you can't sue the sovereign. You can't sue the state.
Right.
And I'd like to see that changed. Maybe the police officer could cover liability insurance. If they do something wrong. Civil court, it's easier to sue in civil court than it is in criminal court. That at least you could go in and try to get damages in civil court if they if the liability was if that was an option for you.
Right.
I'd love to be able to sue the governor over these thousands of people that died in nursing homes because of his stupid decision. But if you try to do that, they're just gonna say, "Oh no, sovereign immunity. You can't do that."
There are ways you can sue like the state, and there are ways you can sue the police department, and a Libertarian Congressman Amash is working on qualified immunity at the federal level, which allows individuals to sue like individual police officers. Right now, they basically can't under most circumstances. It's just totally unreasonable to try to do that. But yeah, even when you can sue them, even when the circumstances are right to be able to sue the police department, it's not the individual police officer who abused their power who pays. It's us, the taxpayers.
Yeah, so that would be one thing to look at least.
Let me ask you about another issue because it's one that I've seen come up a bunch too. Is changes to the civil rights law. There's this thing called Section 50A, which basically seals police officer misconduct records from the public. Would you support repealing that?
Generally, I would. I'd like to see the details. I mean, you got to. The flip side is that everybody else, HR records. People just can't go through your HR records looking to see, what complaints are. Those are generally private. But police officers are public employees, and the public should, just as the trials, trials not private. The trials are public. The press can be there. The public can come in and sit and watch during a trial. There might have to be limits to it, or be details involved. That, but certainly, I'd be in favor of more openness in that to the public, so they can follow and know who the bad guys are and what the issues were and.
Right. So maybe not everything, but like certain types of use of force incidents that you think could have a compelling public interest. Like, so you're not blanket endorsing the repeal of this. You're just saying like we need to make sure we do it right.
Right.
All right. Fair enough. All right. So you've talked about kind of sovereign immunity, qualified immunity a little bit. I think you kind of mentioned the insurance thing because we've talked about that in a show too. Like, do you think like individual officers should have liability insurance? I don't even know if that needs to go at the state level or the local level, but like, I don't know, generally good idea. You think that could that happen at the state level?
I think it is something that could happen at the state level. Yeah, I don't see how probably the individual counties could change that. I think that would be a state issue, I would believe.
Yeah, no, that's probably where it's going to end up where it's going to have to happen. Any other solutions? Any other mention? Because you got a lot of stuff going on here between the peaceful protesters who have these issues, and then you have some of the more violent elements too. Like any other solutions that need to come from the state, or maybe the opposite of that, don't need to come from the state.
Well, I'm just trying to. Most of these communities where they've been trying community policing, and yet it doesn't seem to get any better. It's hard to understand why they can't make more progress on this.
Right. No, incredibly frustrating.
Sean, I was just about to state, I could hear the frustration in his voice.
Yeah. Sean, do you have any other questions? I'm I'm running this whole thing here. Sean's just like sitting around, probably playing a video game or something, twiddling his thumbs.
No, I'm listening carefully.
Like, all right, I'll just let Kevin carry this. It's fine.
No, I just, as, Dr. Becker being an optometrist and stuff, I just hope his vision, if he gets elected, is 20/20 and that he doesn't make a spectacle of himself. Yes, I went there.
Ah, so many bad puns.
This is what happens when you take Fake News Friday from me.
Oh, I know. We took Fake News Friday, and Steve, I know you listen to the show occasionally. We normally do a fake news segment, but we're like, all right, we gotta give this candidate the opportunity to talk about an issue in current events. So we didn't want to just dump the fake news, guys. I'm sorry, no Fake News Friday. Although I am drinking a beer called Florida Man. My wife very nicely bought me some Florida Man beer. It's a double IPA made from
Should
Cigar
hold it up
City.
to the camera.
It's downstairs, so I didn't.
Prepared.
Listen, if I did this show drinking a double IPA on an empty stomach, we'd have problems.
Nobody said to open it.
Yeah. So Sean, this is radio. Most people who listening to this are not going to see my can of IPA.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to drink on the air.
No, yeah. So we're not going to do that. But anyhow, Steve, we have just a couple minutes left. Anything else that you want people to know about you before you go?
Yeah, like where can we get information about you?
I was going to go to part of the issue with the brutality is the war on drugs and how that's gone on for so long and has damaged communities and put people away for decades and it's just been the wrong solution and that's part of the reason that there's so much mistrust in the urban communities. As far as reaching me, so far I've just mostly been filling out paperwork. I haven't done much on social media yet. It's something I have to get around to. It's a relatively small assembly. Is a relatively small district. I hope to do a lot of face-to-face and walking the neighborhoods and meeting people individually. I live in East Irondequoit, and so I'm hopefully be able to get out and touch a lot of people personally.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're in the
Is that Biden's problem?
Oh, goodness. You went there. So if you're not sure if you're in 136, you can go to the New York State Board of Elections website, look up your voter information, see if you live in that district, and if you do, hey, look, give Steve a look. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here on Radio Free New York. Thank you, Dr. Steve Becker, for being on today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right, we'll be back next week with more Radio Free New York. Talk to you then.